in my opinion, WWF at this time pulls a lot of it off as they're still trying to captivate the live arena audience. The place erupts, so you that energy still goes through. And this is the beginning of like even the Attitude Era, the good and bad. I think it started to burn people out about like the storylines and what have you. And this gave birth to smart markism in a big way.
It's the day after Judgment Day, and we're doing it raw.
The day after Judgment Day. That's
the show we're reviewing, I should say.
right.
Not as catchy, but
Yeah.
welcome to Tales from the Attitude Era.
I never thought about the day after Judgment Day. Would that just be like big lines of zombies and people leaving their graves and returning? And would there be a lot of, or would everything be perfect? That's interesting. The day after Judgment Day.
Sounds like a good movie concept.
Yeah. Does it?
like in one of those TV movies, if they still made those, this would be like a good ABC
like
Wednesday night.
Like The Stand or something, one of those deals?
Yeah. Like a mini-series event.
Start off topic. We just swerved immediately. Yeah. Forget wrestling.
Forget wrestling. Welcome to Tales from the Attitude Era. We're doing movie pitches today. It's Rob Pasbani from thestunner.com. As always, joined by the former writer of WWE during this era that we're recapping. It's Tommy Blacha.
What's happening?
Welcome, Tommy. It's the day after Judgment Day on Raw. We're reviewing the May 22nd, 2000 edition of Raw from the Conseco Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana.
A beautiful Conseco Fieldhouse.
Was it beautiful?
No.
I was going to say that. What about the Market Square Arena? I guess that was probably taken for the Pacers and the Knicks. It seems like they're in the Eastern Conference Finals at the moment.
Yeah, they were in the playoffs, right? That was a big thing. I remember this because this was like a weird watershed moment where it was nothing to do with Indianapolis, which I like, whatever. I was just like, I think I'm going to leave.
Oh,
wrestling. Yeah. Just.
Interesting. What was what set you over the top?
Well, frankly, it was nothing that built up or anything. There was just like, I think as documented by this, I really got thrust into this position. And then like suddenly I started to think like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm either going to really stay here forever, make a real run of it, and then like, wrestling can be not fun in the backstage politics and things and just, bureaucracy and Vince and what have you. So it really was like, well, make it fun, stay, completely commit to it. And I always feel if you're on the fence at all, it's like just time to like, so this is the first crack where I thought like, it's almost like I just starting to wake up like, oh, what has happened this whole past year? And I was still living in New York and thinking about like coming out to LA or what have you. And, put so many plans on hold. And I was just thinking about like, oh, what else do I want to do in terms of like, working in TV or whatever. And it just kind of like, I just thought like, all right, the Undertaker's back. That's incredible. And this after a huge pay-per-view, it's kind of easy to do like a Raw, because it's like, well, The Rock has to have his comeuppance and, everything's kind of laid out. But it just became like, sometimes it was just like pulling teeth when you're just going, here's what should happen. Here's what should happen. And then, you're traveling and Vince is like, oh, I don't know, hemming and hawing. And then ultimately the show just gets pulled off the way it should be. And it was just like, I don't know, something about it was like, this one wasn't fun. It just was like, even though the show came off great, it still was like, come on, come up with endings and come up with stuff. And like, well, here it is. And then you just almost were like waiting for the time gets to the point where you have to just say yes to things, Vince. And then he did. And it got pulled off again. Just something oddly unsatisfying that was like, I don't know. This moving.
So you were tired of playing the back and forth game backstage because you're confident in your idea. If I could try to interpret what you're saying, is like you're confident in your pitches and your ideas, and you just don't like this game that Vince plays of like, well, give me more ideas. Certainly you have a better idea. When it's like, no, this should be the idea. And then the game is then just wait 2 hours until it's too late to change anything and pitch it again, and then he'll do it. Is that and you thought that wasn't the best work environment for a creative person?
Sometimes, yeah. And and it was like, and part of it too was like I always said, like the machine was gonna pull it off. You know what I mean? And in some ways, like the booking wasn't the big part of it. It was just like felt like just I don't know, just embrace these ideas and let the rest of the team like pull it off. It just, and I don't want to be negative or sour. Another thing was just the fact that like this whole thing was so huge and the momentum was so huge. At a certain point, something had to start cracking just inevitably in terms of like, and if you look at the cycles of wrestling or what have you. So, we've talked about this before of like, I'm always so impressed that it keeps getting pulled off, but it was like, wow, where are we going to go? And I also just felt like, wow, Austin coming back and at some point, and the Undertaker, I don't know, it didn't seem like I was thrilled with the prospect of like having to be in the middle of like coming up with more stuff and what was going to happen ultimately, like in terms of like who was going to be on top and what have you. It just started to seem like, oh, this is going to be maybe tedious to do that, because also there was
with who on top. You mean like the political back and forth between, let's say, Triple H, Rock, Undertaker, and Austin on who should be champion and whatnot.
Yeah, which inevitably was going to happen and should happen, but the way it was going to trickle down to the peon creatives, which I've started to feel like would be like, oh, more, no, this, so you're just kind of like, which I felt. And I've known plenty of people to work there and after that, which kind of that's what it became in terms of it just became unsatisfying for, that kind of writing or booking aspect. I always felt it should be a smaller committee, once they start bringing in more people and like, well, more ideas and like, okay, 2 writer teams of 30 people and more ideas, just more shit to go through. And ultimately, when is it going to bottleneck to some decision? It just, I don't know. The machine was growing too big, and and in terms of like, yeah, I wouldn't, and I don't want to shit on anyone who's worked or whatever, but for me, I personally wouldn't want to work there in later years because it was like, and how here's the whole social media structure, and here's more writers, and
this was before all of that, even, right? Like it was just starting.
It was just starting, and it was kind of like, okay. And wrestling starting to act like other parts of TV were like, bring in more development people, more stuff. And just like, oh, I don't know. So you're saying the writing team is being expanded at this point? Like there were more people being added? Or? Yeah, it was starting, and you just felt like that's where it was going, and it was becoming, less fun. And I felt I shouldn't paint it so negative. I just kind of felt like, wow, I was really lucky to get there in this weird vacuum that happened after Russo left. And it was just like exploding, and the momentum was huge, and it was going upwards and upwards. And there was like a small team, and we always joke like the yellow pads of paper just pulling stuff off. And then now, the apparatus was just getting too big, and like, oh, there's going to be WWE studios, which I was half kind of like, okay, that'll be fun. But, I don't know. I'm floundering a bit. I just felt that, it was more like a feeling like this is getting kind of big and a little out of control and a little less fun. And
this is where the honeymoon phase was officially over for you, basically.
Kind of. Well, it was weird. The seed kind of hit me here. Yeah, kind of. I just feel like, wow, you have things in your life where you're like, oh, 51% of me wants to go, 49 wants to stay. I felt make that decision. And also a lot of it was like, oh, it's fucking exciting. I love it. It's great. But I kind of felt like I was at that moment where I was like, I have to either really jump into this full bore, completely dedicated, or leave it. You know what I mean? Because it's just that kind of business is not like, man, let me see. Let me keep, hemming and hawing, dancing around a bit and see if where it's going. That's not good for that kind of business, I think. It just
is this the first time you're feeling this, or was like the pay-per-view kind of like, or is it just this whole weekend that kind of?
No, it was like this specifically.
This was the first show where you felt
yeah. And like I said, the pace was so crazy. It really was. It wasn't anything, concrete or anything weird about the show or book. It just was a feeling that like kind of like came on like, yeah, even when I first came on board, like I said, I didn't even get paid for a while because everything was so frantic. Like, oh my God, I need to like work all this stuff out. So I kind of like it was the first time I just weirdly took a breath and was like, yeah, okay. Let me see. What's my exit plan? That was it. It was like that simple. So, there you go. Yeah.
No, I like this. I like this insight. So was there any, just to take a step back, like with Judgment Day, was there any political maneuvering for the main event at all? Or like,
No.
does Vince come to you with the result basically? Like we're getting Triple H in, he's going to win by the seat of his pants and you just write it, or?
I can't quite remember exactly. And like I said, there was nothing like specific about this that was any different. It just was like a feeling for me. It was, that like I just wanted to split because my whole point of view too was more about like, all right, let's make anything work. It's not about having, and that's maybe a little bit dangerous in terms of like, I don't have a strong opinion about some things. I just I'm here to make everything get over as good as it can.
You're just not precious with things. You could let things go, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that started to maybe, like, oh, what am I going to be? Am I going to really, try to push it and be, I think we should do this. And it's hard to have those opinions because part of wrestling is kind of like, yeah, make anything work.
Yeah, you want to be elastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have that opinion too of like, even when we're talking about stuff in retrospect, it's funny of like, well, gosh, what if, is it a mistake to have him go over? Like, nah, I'm always like, it's never a mistake. Just make that work. Things sometimes don't work out, but I don't kind of look at it like that. So, and maybe that's, a mistake in some terms.
And it's funny though, because even if because you had this moment, you're still sticking around for like another 6 months, right? Like you don't really leave until for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit. It just was like something that like, okay, exit plan.
Yeah. What was your, did you make it into 2001 or
No, I didn't. Actually, I can't, as we keep going, I don't even remember. That's the part, you know what? There's a thing called the fog of war, I think.
Yeah.
And that's why this whole podcast thing has been interesting for me because all these things, like even this feeling, I didn't think of it, or I'm not even so aware of my timeline in ways. But as we go, I just kind of like things creep in, and I felt that like, oh yeah, I felt this in Indiana. I was like kind of like just sitting on an anvil case, like, what's my exit plan? Like it was just a feeling that popped in, and
Did you mention to anybody like Brian Gewirtz or anyone that you were feeling this way?
Sure. And of course, Gewirtz, funnily enough, is funnily a word? Funnily enough.
It is now.
After I left, he would, I'll out him on this. I would always talk to him often through the years. And I kind of joked, said like, oh, I'm your like pro wrestling therapist. He was always like, yeah, I got to get out of here, for years, just because, but.
So I feel like that's just a common thing with the writing team. Cause I've read like other writers basically say the same thing of like, forever. I was like, I got to get, like, what am I doing?
Sure.
What am I still doing here?
And Gewirtz, I think too, he was in a bigger position and his things changed. And so he wasn't like a lot of like, when the writing teams expanded, there was a lot of people that went in and then were out, but also people were recruited for the wrong reasons and then like didn't and would come in and not understand the product. And then it became a mess a lot even though everything ultimately worked out, there was a revolving door of writers for years, maybe even now still of like, and I can't imagine.
I feel like there's like a 3-month turnover with most of the writers.
Yeah.
And they're like, I feel like I see that job listing for like a producer or creative writing assistant or like consistently up for, in like LinkedIn or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. It's kind of thankless. You know what I mean? There's not
Yeah.
like a direct line to the fun or or the creativity a lot, I won't get.
And also,
too
I
far
believe at this point, like, you're going to start transitioning into Stephanie being the head of the creative team. I don't think it's happened quite yet.
Yeah.
But has she been attending meetings as well? Well, I guess the entire family's on the.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everyone was, and it was just so loosey goosey like that. It was just like having like I said, like some, having breakfast in Vince's suite and everyone, or in the car, riffing with, Shane, Stephanie, Vince, Wirtz, just
Shane
like,
was a big part of the writing team too.
Yeah. And then. And things would just get handled. And a lot of times when they weren't, it was because they were involved in their own storyline, or you know what I mean? You're just side working on their promos with them,
Well, to your point, I feel like all the other stories on this episode kind of got the shaft other than the main storyline. There really wasn't much development. And in a way, it made me kind of look forward to SmackDown when things kind of slowed down a little. And like I was kind of begging for an interstitial almost,
Yeah, which was like, that was like the fun of this era was just like, God, fly by the seat of your pants and like, okay, now The Rock got screwed. So this is like, oh, The Rock's going to be like, a good old time honored Austin thing. He's going to get his comeuppance everywhere.
Right.
So that was still like really fun when it was like your writing was based on the last event, like what happened, and you're just like, oh, moving forward, and as opposed to like coming up with things, so to speak. But
well, yeah, and like the well is running dry for you creatively a little bit, right? Like it's seeming a little repetitive, like you said. Like today, the episode that we're reviewing now, it's essentially a Steve Austin like Bugs Bunny episode, but The Rock is playing Steve Austin.
Yeah. It's just, it wasn't so much that, because you, like I said, the creative well never really runs dry. And also you're reacting to things that are happening. It's just starting to feel like a little less fun, starting to get a little like, tedious, and once that, and just, it's almost like, what's the analogy? Working for wrestling at this time was like going 1,000 miles an hour. So if you're a plane and like, there's a little crack in something, it'll just disintegrate you. You know what I mean? If you have
that makes sense.
You got to be all in or not, was my opinion. So maybe it was Indianapolis. I don't know.
You're just that big of a Knicks fan that you were like, all right, you know what?
Yeah. No, Pistons fan. So
that's right. So you're okay. So
you're the Knicks fan.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Well, at this time, I was a huge Knicks fan for sure. I was definitely rooting them on and watching and hoping and praying.
Yeah, it was huge.
Didn't happen. But anyway, it's the day after a pay-per-view and no recap, no stills, just the sting, the WWE stinger, and then the Raw intro, and then JR quickly just at the top of the show while we're getting the fans and the he says that Triple H is the new world champion. Undertaker has returned, and there are some questions about the officiating, which is a kind of a show-long storyline, wondering if Shawn Michaels somehow screwed The Rock with his officiating, and we'll kind of get more into it as the show goes on. Is this like kind of something where you were saying like you're regrouping? We talked about how the ending of the show didn't quite go down as the original plan was for Judgment Day, where the timing was a little off, but you still ultimately got to the ending that you wanted to get to. And so now you're playing off the kind of, I don't want to say mistakes, but like the happy accident, let's say, and turning that into a storyline.
Yeah. And even more, I think, which is a good thing from Vince that I've learned, which was what I really thought was fun. You don't look at anything like a mistake. You look at it like a live event. Whatever happens, then you try to leak in as much truth as you can. You know what I mean? And I think that was the like thing that always made like wrestling fresh or whatever. Like whatever happens. And in fact, Vince is such a weirdo in a good way, where he was like, he loved mistakes. You know what I mean? Just was like, oh, more chaos, more, you know what I mean? In a weird way, he was like he was a control freak and mad. But then when things went way wrong or it was a mistake, like, oh, that's fine. You know what I mean? He always had this, like, kept you on your toes like that. And I was always like kind of fascinated with like, oh, but you're a control freak who loves when things get out of control, you know? And, but there's a good lesson in there. And that's what's like, you know, when you would talk about like broadcasting football or something, you wouldn't go into the production meeting of football and go, oh my God, that game didn't go the way we thought it would in terms of the score. You know what I mean? You just wouldn't, you'd be like, no, you just go with what happened and you report on what happened. So it's that bizarre thing about wrestling where it's like, I feel like when you put too much control in like that and then that leaks through, it's bad. So you just really react to things as if it were a live event, and that's how you move forward with the storyline. So you're kind of stopping and starting with, you know, your mentality about that. But if that makes sense. But that was the stuff I always loved about it, you know.
I really liked the sports analysis of Shawn Michaels' call as the show went on. I didn't like that we didn't really have a main event or really much in the way of matches this episode. But it's the day after a pay-per-view. Everyone's tired. Right. Everyone's beat up. I get it. You got to work around. Like Triple H and Rock just wrestled an hour, so you want to kind of give them a light night. With that, I understand.
Yeah.
But, you know, as a smart mark, I'm like, give me more. Give me more.
And this was kind of a more TV-friendly episode in terms of TV audience. We're like, oh, a bunch of backstage and a bunch of know, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, like, I feel like you kind of did a replay of what happened the night before. Kind of, you re-debuted The Undertaker for the audience that didn't see the pay-per-view. But we'll talk about that when we get to the final segment. So the show starts with Vince coming out. And he's in a great mood, obviously. And he's like, yes, Judgment Day. Judgment Day is supposed to be a day when the world comes to an end. And certainly that was the case for some WWF superstars. And immediately he's greeted with a huge asshole chant. It's clear to see that we in the McMahon-Helmsley faction, he calls it a faction. I guess he doesn't like regime. No. Have been okay. And we've been partying hard, which is why I don't look like my GQ self. I would not tell that Vince was partying, nor do I guess he does party hard based on certain legal documents that have come out recently.
Not when I was there.
You never saw him take a drink or anything after a show?
I saw him maybe 2 times on a plane drink like some red wine. And then he would like get all, and then you'd almost like, holy shit, fucking thank God that guy doesn't drink. But you know, no,
he's a mean drunk, or what
no, just like
he loosens up.
Yeah, he loosens up a little, but that like really, honestly, like maybe 3 times. You know, nothing. So, but who knows? Again, you know. After he got all, you know, that money and was getting older and who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he had an incredible work ethic and was all about the show.
Well, he says if The Rock were to show up today, it would be great to see The Rock versus Vince McMahon one-on-one in this ring. And the crowd is very excited about that. But that's not going to happen. What will happen is The Rock is going to face Triple H and X-Pac and Road Dogg and Shane McMahon 4-on-1 in the ring. He says, last night we took the championship from The Rock. Tonight we take what's left. While I don't like the booking of the match, I did really like that line. And ultimately it doesn't matter because it doesn't happen. And then we go to JR and Lawler. And I think it was very important here to constantly go back to JR and Lawler. We see them a lot at the desk this episode because they have to explain to you what happened at the pay-per-view if you didn't see it, because it's very wordy and kind of confusing. Right. So you have to a little bit take your time with it. And so they're analyzing through the screenshots. Undertaker attacked Triple H. So Undertaker showed up last night with like 30 seconds left, and he chokeslammed Triple H while there was still time on the clock. And then after the bell rang, he tombstoned Triple H. After time ran out, he tombstone Triple H. And that's when HBK called for the bell and the disqualification. And so the question lingers, did HBK see the choke slam? And is that what he called the DQ on? Or did he only see the tombstone, which happened after the match was over, and called the DQ on that? Thus, that shouldn't have been a DQ, and The Rock could have won, or it would have been a tie, I guess. And so I guess if it would have been a tie, then Triple H would have lost. It would have been, the champion has to be pinned or defeated or whatever. Although I guess in this case, the title does change hand on a DQ. But anyway, we're not arguing that point. But that's the question, and we keep going through it all through the night. Meanwhile, then we cut backstage to Vince, who's walking all happy-go-lucky, like not a care in the world. And here comes The Rock in the background, like Bugs Bunny, and he comically assaults Vince McMahon. Like, it is a full-on assault with trash cans and lids and everything, but I feel like it's played for laughs. It's not played for blood and vicious, like, oh, this is cold. It's like, ha ha, Vince is getting beat up.
Yeah. Well, the stuff that worked so huge in my mind, I think that really, we always talk about the influence of ECW, but what, in my mind, launched a huge part of the popularity of this era was Austin just tormenting McMahon, hitting him with the bedpan, all this stuff. And it's just, to me, I was like, even pitching this, it's like, yeah, it's so satisfying to have McMahon assaulted, especially the way he's walking. It's just like physical comedy, however you want to phrase it. It's like, it's amazing. And it was good, I think, to be like, oh, is it going to be typical? Is it, is The Rock going to come out to the ring and see that? It's like, nope. This was kind of a little bit unsuspected, I think,
I found it very funny, and I really liked, so he beats him up. Vince's limo's right there, so he throws Vince in the limo, and Vince pokes his head out all beat up.
Yeah.
Saying, you're not going to get away with this. And then The Rock just decks him with the trash lid and stumbles back in the limo and drives off. Absolutely legendary comical moment that still gets reposted to this day. I think it's like become like a meme now.
Sure, yeah.
And to your point, it is like you are going back to what works. This is essentially Austin beating him up in the hospital, but kind of reworked a little bit. And maybe that's kind of why you're part of the reason why you're over. You're like, oh, there's not really going to be anything new. I'm just going to be rehashing stuff.
No, if him getting hit with the trash can lid probably is what made me go, maybe I should stay. That's great. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I thought that was a really fun segment.
Everything I explained it's cumulative. It's not any moments. You know what I mean?
I gotcha. Yeah. I'm just going to keep analyzing like every little moment. Like, was this it? Was this?
Yeah.
No, I really, really liked this moment. And in general, I liked how the whole show was designed around The Rock getting his heat back because he's your top guy. He's the top star. He's not going to be the champion for a bit, I don't think. It's hard to remember. But and so you want to make sure he looks as strong as possible, even though you just took the title off of him after a month, which I guess was more common back then, but still seemed pretty uncommon for like a big guy to lose that quickly.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember too, this is this era, which influences, like, now it seems that's what wrestling is like there wasn't 5 original hours of programming a week. Everything was so lightning fast. You looked at even years previous, you could run programs and people would hold on to titles longer because just you wouldn't have these storylines just like accelerated so fast that in this era where it's just like unbelievable. So where 3 weeks seems like 6 months,
Right. Also, though, because the wrestlers are on every show as well. Rock is on twice a week, whereas now you're only on once a week. Sometimes, like, CM Punk would not be on TV for like three weeks and then come back right before the pay-per-view or whatever because the roster's so much deeper. And they've kind of really
I would say bigger. I wouldn't say deeper. I'm going to let you figure out what I mean by that.
Oh.
Larger roster, not necessarily deeper.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. But like, there's just more people to focus on, and but I think they just go much slower too. Of like one feud can eat up 40 minutes on the show now, whereas here everything is like in like 10-minute segments at most.
Yeah.
So it goes much slower now, I would say, than even with the more hours of television that they have.
Yeah.
After the break, after the recap of Vince getting his ass handed to him, we have Trish Stratus coming out with T&A. Now, they had the night off, basically. They just kind of did that chain run-in. So they're in action. They're working tonight. And is that something to consider, like when you're formatting the show, like who's fresh? Let's throw them in matches and then figure out
absolutely.
stories for them.
Absolutely. And that's always a thing too, that sometimes it's even like running a sports thing, like, someone has an injury or someone's being protected for this or that. Yeah, that's it. And absolutely.
Gotcha. So Trish has the mic and says, "It's come to my attention that all you little girls just love the Hardy Boys." And we get that high-pitched Von Erich, the pop. And how can you not like them? Well, I don't. The boys will face my men, and when we're through with them, we'll see just how hard they really are. Did they get Val Venus's speechwriter to do Trish Stratus's promo today? That was my reaction to this. But sure, gives her mic time, lets her establish herself. Like, she doesn't really quite have a character just yet, other than just, a horny fitness model. Like, that's kind of her vibe.
Dismissive there. What's wrong with the horny fitness model?
Fair.
No. Maybe it's starting right here a little bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought she delivered the lines well. She wasn't, stiff about it. She sounded like a heel.
Stiff? So. What do you... Stop with the sexual entendres, Pasbani. She wasn't stiff.
It's a basic match, nothing too crazy. TNA got the heat on Matt Hardy the entire match. Matt makes a comeback. Jeff gets the hot tag, goes crazy, gets some good reactions, does a corkscrew moonsault, which is always fun. And the finish is essentially he has Albert set up for a swanton bomb. He hits it. And everyone's like, oh, is it over? No, because Trish gets on the apron and the ref is distracted, giving Test just enough time to climb on the top rope and hit his signature beautiful looking top rope elbow drop. Switches the pin. Albert gets the pin. T&A steal it from the Hardys.
There you go.
Does this mean they're going to get a title shot? Probably.
Don't know.
But we'll see. Backstage, we see The Rock is in the parking area. A little sweaty from his attack to Vince. Still waiting for the McMahon Helmsley Hygiene. That's an edge line.
Oh. Hygiene.
Eddie and Chyna are here. They come out. Not really much talked about how Eddie won the match last night. I guess you're moving on from that feud.
Mm-hmm.
And but she has the roses, and then D'Lo shows up, and you can tell D'Lo is just really desperate to be on TV. He's looked in like the few weeks that I haven't seen him. He's gotten in even better shape. His traps are like about to pop out of his back. He's got a tan. He wants to be noticed, and of course, because he hasn't really been featured in the last few months at all. And if you're not on TV, you're on the bubble and you don't want to get cut.
Yeah, he was very well respected too as a worker. And, it wasn't, that's the other thing you got to realize too, is like, I always, like a broken record, talk about the pace of pulling these shows off and getting everything in. It isn't as if, well, you're getting over or you're not. The whole, even, from the booking, everyone, the hard part was like, fuck, D'Lo Brown is great. Oh, that he had that horrible, incident. Oh, he's kind of pushed to the side. You feel like you're doing him a disservice. It's not like this sense of like, yeah, he's not getting over. We're gonna get rid of him, or he's down on the totem pole or whatever. It's more like, how can you just pull so much overness for everyone all the time? You know what I mean? And that's a tough thing about it, because it certainly isn't like, Vince was looking at him like, oh, I don't know. Like everyone's like, oh, we got to get something for him. Oh, but now we pulled that show off. Okay. Oh shit. What should we do? Can he do this? Can we fit him in there? It's like you just feel like you're doing him a disservice by not having stuff for him in there. And how many slots are there for people to constantly get over with, different storylines? So that's a different way of looking at it. I hope I get that across.
Well, I'm curious, when a wrestler isn't featured like this on TV, do they kind of like come to you and start lobbying and pitching suggestions or anything like that? Did you ever get that?
Sure. Yeah, often. And then sometimes it's like, there's a lot of things where it's like, yeah, well, that's good. Well, let me try to get that through to Vince. Oh, there was no time. You know what I mean? And that's another thing that was happening where like, oh, Vince's door is always open. Then, oh, the apparatus is getting bigger and people can't really get a word in on him or whatever other, oh, Undertaker's back. This is just taking up so much time. Oh, Vince is involved in the storyline, so you can't really like make new plans, but you're trying, you know what I mean? So there wasn't a consistency of how to do that. It just was like a lot of like sometimes luck, sometimes just something getting over. And like we talked about before, like just the contract shenanigans where the Radicals came in like, oh, that has its ramifications for weeks where as far as like, oh, suddenly there's 3 top guys that have to be in there. So other people are like, oh shit, that delays me for weeks or whatever. And, and that's why I think even things like NXT evolved where like, oh, how can we have people on the roster doing something big somewhere else to maybe so they can get over into the top spot in the top league. There's always that kind of like tumultuous stuff happening. When you have a roster of like whatever 30 or 40 and you're at the bottom of it, it's almost like it's the same thing in sports. Like, oh, should I go down to the minor leagues and get more playing time instead of like coming up to the big leagues and sitting on the bench? And that might not be good for me. You know what I mean? So it's all very fluid and very mercurial and often very difficult.
So we have Eddie against D'Lo, and it's a pretty short match. And this is, in my opinion, as a clean finish, smart mark. And not because of the Attitude Era, because of years of overuse in the modern era. Mm-hmm. This is my most despised finish, which is D'Lo was in full control of the match. Then the Godfather's music hits, and it's as if theme music has this psychotic, like dizzying force against pro wrestlers where they must drop what they're doing,
right,
and turn around and are so in a haze distracted that they immediately lose the match. So Godfather comes out with the hose. He's just on the ramp. He doesn't even go down. This is enough for D'Lo to drop everything, look at him, turn around. Eddie Guerrero jumps up into a beautiful looking Huracan Rana and gets the pin. It's like a victory roll type. Quick pin, 1, 2, 3. D'Lo is pissed. Godfather runs in immediately after, attacks D'Lo, gives him the Ho Train and the Death Valley Driver, which I have just come to learn was called the Pimp Drop when Godfather does it.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And also, just to bring in, maybe it was a little bit in sometimes the execution, too, of like, okay, camera cut and, oh, he's waiting too long. And, yeah, like I said, he didn't, I would agree with that. He should have come down and, at least done the grab his foot at the ring apron or something,
Yeah, like if he had, that's a good point. If he had run down and kind of suggested he would like get in the match,
yeah,
then I would understand a distraction. But if he's all the way up there, who gives a crap? Like, finish your match. You got you want to win the title.
It's too long too. If it were more crisp, we were like, what? And then, something happened or, it was it was a little clunky, but happens.
This was one of those angles where you didn't have enough time because you were pitching Vince on the main angle.
No, it was just, like everything, it's like just how things get executed sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
In retrospect, it's kind of like, yeah, should have, and I don't, you're right. You're right.
I love hearing it. The limo arrives. Gerald is there to greet DX. It's X-Pac, Road Dogg, and Tori. And Rock immediately lunges at them with the lead pipe, throws them in the back of a truck, lowers the gate. They're taken care of. Fans love this. Edge, Christian, and Kurt Angle are out. Kurt is in a Indiana Pacers jersey. Christian is in a Indiana college jersey. What's the Indiana University? What's the
Hoosiers,
okay.
Pasbani. Gosh.
Yeah, I don't know college basketball. I'm sorry. Kurt Angle takes
If
the
you're
mic
to know
and-
one college basketball team nickname, it would be Hoosiers.
That's
Carry on.
he takes the mic and he says, "The New York Knicks are going down."
Oh,
Big pop. Because obviously this is in Indiana. Pacers and Knicks are huge rivals.
yeah. I think they're in the playoffs at this very time.
Yes, they're in the conference finals together.
Yeah, oh, yeah. That's right.
And he says the New York Knicks are going down. Yay! After they defeat the Indiana Pacers in the conference finals.
Boo.
Boo. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect local heel heat. And as a New Yorker, I was
A little
cheering on
cheap
Kurt
heat
Angle.
swerve. A little mini
Yes.
swerve. Cheap heat.
Very good. Christian has the Hoosiers jersey on. And he says, "Greetings, inhabitants of Indianapolis. Indiana is known for two things. It's basketball and it's choking. Whether it's Bob Knight choking his players." Now, Bob Knight, I guess, was the Hoosiers coach. I remember. Or who's coach?
Yeah, boy, you're really angering me more than you ever have.
I do remember the Bob Knight story where he got,
first of all, it's Bobby Knight, not Bob Knight. Yeah.
Well, that's how they refer to him on the show.
Yeah. Well, that's because they're,
That's
they're maybe being mad. But yeah, Bobby Knight is also arguably the most legendary college basketball coach of all time. And also just a maniac and who had to resign, I think, maybe from this incident or he threw a chair or something, but he choked a player. So that was a huge zeitgeist topical moment.
That I remember
yeah,
that. Yes,
yeah.
in the zeitgeist for sure.
Yeah.
He says whether it's Bobby Knight choking his players or as proven last night, the Pacers choking in the playoffs. Double shot for the Pacers.
This is I wouldn't even call this cheap heat. I would call this expensive heat. Moderately priced. Yeah, it's very good. Very good stuff.
Edge says we have decided to embrace the Indiana tradition. We call this one the Big Choke. Edge takes off his cloak to reveal he's Bobby Knight, and he chokes Christian. And Kurt Angle drops his knees and chokes himself, wearing a Pacers jersey. So I guess the Pacers are choking. So double choke, big booze. Too Cool is out. Very easy to cheer for Too Cool now, especially after the work by Edge, Christian, and Kurt Angle. Quiche and Kurt Angle are in the ring. Everyone else is outside. Rikishi disposes of Angle after some stink face teasing. They throw Edge into the corner, and Too Cool both butt bump him until he falls into place for a stink face. Edge keeps his chin up to avoid actually smelling Rikishi's butt. And it made me wonder, how often did Rikishi change those trunks? Like my rash guards when I do jujitsu, after 6 months, I got to get a new rash guard, and I wash it every time. And I perform in them probably way less than these pro wrestlers. So I can only imagine the spicy stank I'm saying I hope they change them out for the sake of these wrestlers taking the stink faces. You never think of this sort of thing.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let you keep talking about it. Yeah.
I've just heard many things about how Big Van Vader apparently rumor has it never washed his gear, and it was a big problem for people who wrestled him. They didn't like that.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say never wash. I think Van Vader, if he only didn't wash him one time, that'd be bad enough. But for the most part, we should have the
gotta ask the wrestlers about that next time.
And also just like the seamstress, the wardrobe, because there was wardrobe there. I forget her name, and so she probably has stories of actually, my wife's a wardrobe designer, and she knew the woman who used to do Kisses stuff, and she said, and they had several outfits, but it'd be there's a specific smell. Packing those things away in the travel. A lot of the same materials like nylon, spandex. So.
Yeah, I believe it. I was around Guar a little bit, and their shit stunk. And it most of it was they had just created it for that tour, and even after 3 or 4 months, it's just
Sure. And they didn't have the big bucks to have people like handle that and clean it. It'd be like, oh. Generally speaking, though, backstage at wrestling, it smells like a lot of coconut oil.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. Everyone's got to look all shiny.
Mm-hmm.
All hell breaks loose. Angle is set up for the worm. Scotty's doing WOR. The ref is distracted by Christian. Edge is on the apron. Hits Scotty with the belt. Kurt Angle does a quick roll up. 1, 2, 3. Edge, Christian, and Kurt steal the victory.
Nice.
Very nice. They celebrate. Then we see a quick little ad, a shout out to Business Week. I'm not sure this publication exists anymore. Guessing it's the Newsweek Business.
No, I think it was a separate thing, Business Week.
Oh, I guess it does exist now. It's now called Bloomberg Business Week. I guess Bloomberg bought it. But it's a cover story with our current Knox County, Tennessee mayor, Glenn Jacobs, under the guise of Kane, with the current Secretary of Education dismantling the Department of Education, Linda McMahon. And the cover headline is Hot Growth Companies. And then the inside title is WWE, One Rock'em Sock'em Company.
Yeah.
So
PR.
Good press for WWE. And WWE always love to pay it back. When they get press, they will shout out the press. I always thought that was very, very smart.
Not only pay it back,
WCW never did.
Often pay for it and then pay it back.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, Pasbani, this is how the world works.
I'm still shook about the idea that, like you said, I believe when China had her Playboy cover, that Vince ordered thousands of them to make sure that it was the most.
Here's what it is. Here's what was the exchange. Was naive me going like, because at the time it was a big deal to be like a Playboy cover, and which doesn't exist anymore. And the amount sold was all like a big thing. It was almost like, oh, New York Times bestseller, how many sold? And this was like Playboy's, I think it was like fastest or most selling in a week. And it was like box office of a movie. And it was like really like, wow, that's legendary. And I remember telling him like, wow, that's really something. I mean, that's amazing. And he just like looked at me and goes, yeah, how do you think that happened? And I was like, oh, you're just like, yeah. Oh, duh. You know, like I just like, hey, dummy. Right. Oh, you guys bought a. Oh, I get it.
So then Shane McMahon arrives. He gets out of the limo. Gerald Briscoe's trying to warn him, but Shane doesn't want to hear it. He's like, I'm going out. I'm going to celebrate. He just beat the Big Show. He does a little choke slam taunt before he starts talking. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Who's afraid of the Big Show? Obviously, it's not me, so I don't know. Which begs the question, which way did he go? The crowd kind of popped for that. But then immediately started, Shane is a pussy chant again. Shane is offended by the chant, especially after last night. He recaps destroying Show and said that Big Show ended up taking a ride in the Wambulance. That he wants to be referred to as Shane the Giant Killer. And on cue, The Rock walks out. Shane is like, hey, this guy's nothing to do with you. Rock just keeps walking into the ring, doesn't even acknowledge Shane, and decks him, beats the crap out of him. They run into the crowd. Everyone's very excited, and they keep fighting until they get backstage. So The Rock has now also taken out Shane McMahon. He's taking out all of his opponents for later tonight.
Pretty good. Where The Rock is so over with this stuff where it's almost like, oh, he's not saying stuff.
Yeah, like he's mad today.
Yeah, it's real business.
Like he's really upset. Yeah, I like that.
And then I believe the Big Show left for knee surgery.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we talked about that last week, that he actually had some knee surgery that he needs to get done, and the hope is that he'd be back in a month. But we were going to see after the procedure. We'll see. We have Val Venis versus Chris Benoit. This match was set up on the previous row with Val saying he would challenge the winner of the pay-per-view match. Benoit defeated Jericho last night, and he's still selling the knee. He's got a knee brace on. It's a solid, straightforward match, which again makes me think you guys didn't really have much time to set up the storylines for these undercard matches. But then there is actually storyline development. At one point, Benoit hits a superplex, and then Hardcore Holly comes out and just absolutely wails Benoit. And like, there's this tweet by this online wrestling fan named Snowboy, 4 eyes, and the tweet, it's viral. It says, every single Benoit match, even the most throwaway TV match, has a bit that makes you go, well, that's what did it. And this Hardcore Holly chair shot, I was just like, Jesus.
Yeah.
He swung like for a home run. And it was so interesting because then he hits Val Venis, and clearly with Val, he does not swing nearly as hard. Maybe he was like, oh shit, I overdid it. Or maybe he was like, oh no, Benoit can take it. Val Venis doesn't want to take it.
I don't know why. I wouldn't say it definitely would not be the second one. It wouldn't say whether the person could take it or not. I think doesn't matter. I think, I don't know, just could have like lightened up or one of those things. And well, the thing about wrestling and Hardcore Holly was like, yeah, well, I got it coming. I got a receipt coming, but I'm tough enough to take it, you know? So that's his whole, that's the ethos of it. I'll always remember him. He was in either Sunday Night Heat or some kind of dark match or something. And he was going against a guy who was a worker from somewhere who this was kind of going to be sort of be like a squash match. I can't remember, but I just remember him telling the guy like, all right, whatever you do, he's like, don't break my nose. Don't chip my teeth. You know, fight back. Give me black eyes all day. I don't care. But do not. That was the only marching orders he gave to his opponent. Black eyes. I don't care.
Okay.
Hit me. Do not break my nose and do not chip my teeth. That pisses me off. Like, well, okay. So he's, as tough as they come, as I say. So when he swings a chair, he's like, yeah, next time I get mine, swing it that hard. So,
I mean, that's one way to live.
Yeah.
Holly's walking in the back and Jericho's music hits, and Holly's just waiting in on the rampway like he's about to deck Jericho as soon as he comes out, but Jericho's one step ahead, and he comes out through the crowd, and he's behind Holly with his own chair, and he knocks out Holly. So we're kind of angling here for a fatal 4-way, it seems, for the IC title. I guess King of the Ring is the next pay-per-view. Oh. Then we have the Dudleys versus Bull Buchanan and the Big Boss Man. Buchanan and Boss Man are kind of part of the McMahon-Helmsley regime. They were helping Shane the night before. To show you how over Boss Man is, he's not really in an active feud, and yet and not even in the match. He was on the apron, and the crowd started chanting "Boss Man sucks," which, like, that's the real credit to him of like how much they remember him. Then we won table shot. Nothing really, a pretty basic match. It was just all heat. There wasn't even a comeback by the Dudleys. It was just the Dudleys out of nowhere snuck in a 3D on Boss Man and get the win. Wonder if they got some of their time cut.
Quite possible.
Backstage, Crash Holly almost storms into the APA office, but then walks back, closes the door, knocks, and the door frame, it's just the door frame, still no glass in the door, and there's a sign that says almost done, which I liked. And then he storms into the APA office. He rants a mile a minute about how he paid them to protect him, and they didn't protect him, and now he lost the title, and on and on and on. And you just pan to APA, whose mouths are agape, like what's he talking about? Is he really talking this way to us?
Yeah.
And in a way, they're like letting him go because it's like, all right, let him get him out of his system because he's so upset. And Crash says if he doesn't get his money back, he's going to take it out on both of them. He grabs a beer, and they say, "You're not old enough to drink." He says, "Yes, I am." And then he pours the drink on Bradshaw. Suddenly, it's not so funny anymore. Bradshaw's upset. Too far.
Yeah.
Briscoe's on the phone with Triple H. There's bad reception. You can't quite tell him what's what's been going on tonight. Crash Holly comes out for a hardcore match. His opponent is a soaked Bradshaw. Bradshaw is not here to have fun. He's not here to play games. He's here to destroy. He absolutely levels Crash Holly. It's just a completely one-sided affair. Wins with a clothesline from hell.
Yep. Fun stuff. Straightforward. I want to see it. Yeah.
Triple H and Stephanie arrive. They're in a great mood. Briscoe recaps everything. We go to break. We come back. He's still telling them. They get to their dressing room. Briscoe's all freaked out. Triple H, it's pretty calm. He's like, we're going to go and find The Rock. Let's go find him right now. And they leave the dressing room. The camera stays, and we see that The Rock was in the dressing room the whole time. It's a nice reveal. I like how The Rock is smarter than everyone on this show. That's important. You want your babyface to be the smartest guy.
Yep. We
have a recap of the final moments of the pay-per-view, and this is where you get into the strategy, the nitty-gritty of should Undertaker have been disqualified? Did HBK not see it? And we see that after the pay-per-view last night, Michael Cole had interviewed Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels gets incredibly defensive and says he called everything right down the middle. I shouldn't be harassed. He's like, I did everything correctly. It wasn't my fault. I wasn't the one who ran in. I called it like I saw it. And I saw the Undertaker run in by the rules. The Rock is disqualified and he lost. So don't blame me. I like it. I like this a lot. Sadly, we won't be seeing more of Shawn Michaels for the immediate future. But also interesting that you have these kind of wild cards to play when you want to make the pay-per-view a little more exciting. Like the month before, you had Austin, you had Michaels come in. Then in an angle that felt like it came out of nowhere, Essa Rios is with Godfather and the hose. Lita is not there. Essa is having a great time with the ladies. And he leaves. They're walking out of the dressing room, and Essa has a hoe on each shoulder. And as they walk out, Lita passes by, and she's like, whoa, what the hell? She seems a little jealous, a little annoyed. Essa says it's all good. She pretends to be okay with it, but then the camera sees that she is not.
It was a decree to put the Essa Rios Lita coupling to bed.
Yeah, and I feel like
not to bed, to in the grave.
Yeah, right. Wrap it up.
Yeah.
And really, since the last pay-per-view, the day after the last pay-per-view, which I guess was 3 weeks ago, or maybe 4 weeks ago, we hadn't seen Essa on the main show at all. He's been in heat purgatory. So I feel like the Vince maybe just soured on Essa Rios.
Yes.
So then Godfather comes out. There's a sign that says Ho Train Boarding Station. Very classy. And of course, Godfather does his spiel, roll a fatty for this Pimp Daddy. And then JR deadpans, hey, King, have you ever rolled a fatty? And without missing a beat, Lawler says, JR, you don't remember that time I pushed you? Because JR is the fatty.
Right.
That's the joke, folks.
But he pushed him. He didn't actually roll him. But anyway, never mind. Semantics. Who cares?
Malenko and Saturn come out. They're the opponents. So it's Godfather and Essa Rios against Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn. And Godfather has the mic. He says, Dean, I know you're the man of 1,000 holds. My hoes know 1,000 positions. Great line. Pick which one you want. And Malenko, being the professional, picks two. He doesn't just pick one. He picks two women and leaves. Saturn is just, he's like, you can't believe it. Like, what the hell? We're here to wrestle. He attacks Essa Rios from behind. It's basically a handicap match. Godfather and Essa Rios have the match won. They have Saturn all set up. Essa Rios is going to the top rope for a moonsault. Lita gets on the apron and knocks Essa off the top rope. She's done with this. Yep. And Saturn gets the win after he does like a brain buster on Essa and gets the win. I guess Godfather was distracted by his ladies to break up the pin.
If you're going to have a clusterfuck, might as well have lots of fun elements. Hose,
yeah, but also
betrayal.
Where I was surprised we didn't see D'Lo Brown come back out, but maybe we're saving that for SmackDown.
I called it a clusterfuck. What do you want me to do?
Backstage, Triple H is looking for The Rock, and sure enough, he doesn't have to look for long because The Rock just comes out in front of the audience. Rock always says, just bring it. And last night, Triple H, you brought it all, including that $2 slot, Stephanie McMahon, which the crowd really liked. He says, while you walked out the champ, you never beat The Rock. Undertaker returned last night. He says, Undertaker, you did the right thing, but at the wrong time, on The Rock's time. A little dissension there. Vince, you already got your ass kicked, and considering what The Rock did to you earlier, Road Dogg and X-Pac, you're probably in the back sucking it with each other. Got a big response. Shane, you could just say he simply left the building. That leaves Triple H. What started as a 4-on-1 has become a 1-on-1. Now Triple H comes out. Big slut chant for Stephanie. He says, Triple H says, yesterday was your judgment day. You were punished and I was rewarded. You were the great one, but as great as you were, you couldn't hang with the game. You can say I didn't beat you all you want, but only one of us is a winner. And it's obviously Triple H. He's got the title. The Rock listens to all of this and then just says, just bring it. The crowd pops huge for the showdown. They start fighting almost immediately. All of DX shows up. Road Dogg and X-Pac. Shane McMahon is there. Vince is back. He gets kind of carried into the ringside area by Gerald Briscoe, still selling the beating. DX pounce on The Rock, but The Rock somehow makes a bit of a comeback and gives Vince a rock bottom. Crowd loves that, but then as soon as that happens, the rest of DX is able to attack The Rock. They're ganging up on The Rock. It looks like The Rock is in quite a bit of peril. Who will save him? Then, like I mentioned, you basically did a replay of the angle the night before. You get the Judgment Day video playing, the teaser trailer with the girls jumping around like in The Shining. And then we hear Dead Man Walking. And the original intended theme for The Undertaker, you done it now. It's a pretty fun, cheesy cock rock song. And the whole presentation looks a million times better than the night before. It doesn't look as confusing.
Right.
It looks great. The Undertaker looks like $1 million here. And he makes short work of all the minions, sets up Vince to be run over by his bike. This didn't look too good because Vince was supposed to get out of the way. He didn't quite get out of the way. Undertaker's not going to run him over. So he kind of just drove around him.
Yeah.
Undertaker circling the ring in his bike like he owns it. Rock and Triple H are still fighting. Triple H sets up The Rock for a pedigree on top of the announce table, but The Rock reverses it, hits a rock bottom through the table, sends everyone home happy.
Yeah, this was still like servicing the live audience. Yeah, why not do it again? Why not?
I mean, this was a fun thing, but again, like I said, like there was no, if you didn't watch the show, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Like if you just saw Judgment Day, you just need to see Judgment Day and you're fine.
Yeah.
You kind of, I guess, saving the storyline progression maybe for Thursday, maybe for next week. Plus, I think you have a little bit of time until the King of the Ring, so there's no real rush to set up new.
No real rush. There's always a rush. There's always.
Well, I feel like the pacing is different when you're 5 weeks out from a pay-per-view than when you're 3 weeks out from a pay-per-view.
Sure. But there's also no long-term thinking. Everything's nuts.
This
is why watching these things are so like therapeutic. And, or I think also like that is the charm and the problem of the Attitude Era is like you just burn through everything so fast.
Yeah.
And like you said, like, or now things are a lot slower and before things were a lot slower. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just the nature of the Attitude Era. There's something about the nature of it like, well, this can't last. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't burn through shit this fast. And sometimes even like when you say, oh, there wasn't a storyline set up for this. Like sometimes you just want to be like, fuck, why can't there just be matches booked? Aren't we mimicking fucking athletic competition where they just book matches and there's tournaments? Like, no, there has to be, it gets overwhelming at times. And then sometimes you're like shoehorning in, storylines that are like, that's not going anywhere. Kill it. You know what I mean? It's just like, God, it's just like feast or famine so much, in this era. But there you have it.
And I wanted to ask with The Undertaker, like, how much talk was there before he came in about the repackaging? Because by this point, it did feel like the goth gimmick sort of ran its course, especially because you really went, like, not you guys, before you got there, like they went super ham with the goth stuff with the Ministry of Darkness and everything.
Yeah. Well, all that stuff was just presented to me or whatever. It's like, oh, he's going to be like a biker now, so it was him coming up with it, in his downtime with Vince and whoever. So then we're just like, oh, okay, there you go. And
Okay, so there wasn't even a brainstorm. It was just like, he's a biker now.
No. And again,
Right.
And he brought all that, himself ultimately. And it's super smart because I think even people that
Absolutely.
that don't, or that shit on the character or whatever, that it's like, well, the dead man coming back would have if he didn't go away, he couldn't have come back and had that, you got to constantly reinvent yourself. Even if you're going back to your old gimmick, it's still reinventing yourself, which is
No, I thought this absolutely added to the longevity of the Undertaker character.
Without a doubt,
it completely refreshed him and made it so exciting to see him. And then he had that really great heel run where Jim Ross would call him Booger Red.
Yeah.
I thought this was awesome. Undertaker was awesome during this moment. This was
and also it was a little more difficult for him to verbalize shit as the Undertaker, a little at live everything. You know what I mean? It's such a highly formatted gimmick, that just kind of took off and outgrew itself in a way. When you think of when he first came out, it's like, oh, it's very old school WWF cartooniness, even the name The Undertaker.
Right.
Know. But I agree. And who doesn't like to see a motorcycle? Works for Rob Halford. Oh, there's a motorcycle.
Yeah, right. It's a great. No, it's great for WWE in this moment. He really just stands out a lot, I think.
Yeah.
And at the time, he's one of the best workers in the biz.
Yeah. And
he was great at this time.
This show, and you just knew too, the Undertaker's gonna be there. The place is gonna explode. Almost makes you a little lazy, because when you really break down the ending of this, it's kind of funny. Where it was okay, it's gonna be a 4-on-1 handicap. Well, that's bullshit. That's all right, because it isn't gonna be, because The Rock's gonna attack everyone, and so it'll just be 1-on-1, and then everyone will come out anyway, and it will be funny. I was like, what? It's kind of
you kind of falsely promised the match. You never delivered on it.
Yeah, and then it just happened anyway. So it was, but it was kind of this bullshitty thing of aha, now it's 1-on-1 because they're all gone. Until
really,
now, until they're not.
To your point, to your point, as a viewer, you were trained to know that the main event is going to be bullshit. Nothing, there's not going to be an ending in both companies at this point.
Yeah.
Other than in a pay-per-view. A pay-per-view is the only time where you're guaranteed some kind of ending.
And the reason I think, in my opinion, WWF at this time pulls a lot of it off is they're still trying to captivate the live arena audience. And for them, sometimes it's a crowd pleaser. So a lot of the audience, even if they were smart marks, if they're there after on the way home, Rob Pasbani on the way home would be like, oh, it's kind of bullshit. But in the moment, you're like, oh, there they are. You know what I mean? The place erupts. So you that energy still goes through. And this is the beginning of even the Attitude Era, the good and bad. I think it started to burn people out about the storylines and what have you. And this gave birth to smart markism in a big way, because at a certain point it's hey, this is this isn't working out, or how many storylines do you need, or what have you. People being more introspective about finishes and thinking through storylines as opposed to whatever. It's just a crowd pleaser. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, we'll see where things are headed right now. There's a lot of chess pieces on the board.
Yep.
And it's time for a bit of a realignment.
Oh.
So we'll see. We'll see where the feuds go. Plus, we have the King of the Ring tournament maybe happening. I'm not sure if you're going to do that again, but I would hope. I don't remember. That's why we're doing the show, so I can remember. And you can remember how you're I got to get the hell out of here. and we got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But we're looking for your feedback. tftattitudeera@gmail.com. Shoot us a question, a comment, a criticism. Are you enjoying watching every week with us? What were your thoughts during this time when you were watching the first time around? Of course, PMFG, I'm sure, will have some thoughts.
Yes.
We'll hear what he has to say. And we'll catch you next time as we recap SmackDown on Tales from the Attitude Era.